So today, very interesting conversation. We're going to talk about expectations with inside the business around AI and why the culture of AI is incredibly important, specifically how to manage those expectations. And if we don't manage those expectations, how we can lead towards projects that are kind of missing the point of AI. I'm delighted to be joined by Deepika and Adam from Smyths Toys today. Ladies first. Deepika, do you want to introduce yourself?
Of course. Hi, I'm Deepika, and I've been working with Adam on the AI project since last November. And I'm basically an app developer working and exploring AI solutions at the moment.
Brilliant. And not just any app developer, an AI app developer, which
Yeah,
makes you in a very unique and
new title, yes.
category as well. So,
Yeah.
Adam, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Adam Sexton. I've been with Smyths Toys for coming 10 years. I'm lucky enough to be doing the second video with Matt, which is great. So far, my experience is building AI solutions in SAP and also in Kubernetes for Smyths Toys.
Brilliant. Well, thank you both for joining. What I love about this is, as manufacturers of this technology, we get really excited, and you know that I'm probably right at the front of the queue to get excited about AI. But the reality is when you bring this into an organization, you've got to think about data constraints, cultural constraints, and also regulatory restraints as well. There's the people may want to use this technology. So to hear your real life experiences, I think folks would benefit from that. So let's start with a simple question, Adam. What's the issue here? What is this different expectations in AI in the business? Can you kind of bring that to life for us?
In a bit of a nutshell, it's the resistance of implementing AI in the way that suits AI. And what I mean by that is we started off our AI journey in the world of customer services. And that was easy to get business buy-in because we just had to talk about chatbots and essentially express it as a clever chatbot. As we transitioned from there and moved into a world of delivering AI in other parts of the business that had been dominated by more traditional SAP programs, that very same question about rolling AI out into those areas and taking that role, we found much harder to express how AI will fit in there, because the feedback that we were getting was there's lots of ABAP programs that already do what the AI is looking to do, and could we not just take the output of those programs and essentially glorify them with a fancy AI layer sitting on top, and then just ask questions about it? So that, in a nutshell, is the problem.
Got it. And that changes though, doesn't it? I think I remember you telling me in the last interview, there was resistance to your call center technology. There's more of acceptance of how it might work. But then once that got going, the sort of the mood music changed, and you went from resistance to, maybe almost the other direction. So this expectation thing is not a constant; it's a variable.
It is a variable, and we expect the same will happen when we get into, especially the buying area. We expect the same expectation to increase, and they'll just get very, very demanding. It's about how do you get that momentum going? How do you get and building that confidence? There's one thing to say this is what we're going to do, and this is going to be your return on investment or the benefit you're going to get. But the business need to have the confidence of the way you get there. And a lot of the times we hear the business telling us how the AI solution should work. So we understand what they want. They then tell us how it should work. We then understand that, well, if we do it that way, this whole end goal that you're picturing in your head is not going to be the one that's going to be a reality.
Right.
That is a big problem.
Lots of different expectations on what AI can do, what your role is, what their role is. Deepika, why do you think that this is an issue, though? Why is it something that we've got to really kind of figure out and sort of dig into?
Well, I think, like Adam was saying, the more we discover the power of AI, um, well, because now we've proven the solution to work in the customer service area, and now the business obviously are keen, in a sense, to bring about the power of AI in different other sectors of the business. I think, obviously, because AI is portrayed as this cool thing now, in the last few years, everyone definitely wants to implement it. And I feel the lack of understanding, if I might put it that way, of what AI can do and how it has to be implemented to harness the best of its powers is something that all of us are learning. And I think it comes with experience. And so for Adam and the team, for myself and others, it's more of, right, we know this is what AI can do from experience, but then how do we bring the business on board with our idea? And for business, what they are trying to look at is, well, we have something solid for our use case in traditional programming, but then I think their question more is about, why do I need to actually bring in AI, which now is moved on to, yes, I need to bring AI because it has been great in, it has performed well in the other um, uh, parts of business already. Now it's more about, okay, well, let's bring in AI, let's see what it can do. But at the same time, it's more, again, problem of expectation is one thing, where we just go way too high with what we want to expect from AI. And at the same time, the way it is implemented to get, to actually make some proper use of it, like Adam was saying, the ROI, I think, is kind of lost when we talk about just bringing AI as this final layer, which will present information that we already have in a way that buyers or users might like. I think we have to take them further than that, to say, actually, with agentic AI, it's not as simple as just provide every information that it needs to AI and let it, come with one single sentence of the answer to the question that you're looking for is not the way about. I think this it's been challenging to demonstrate the difference of what AI can do versus what AI is perceived to do. And I think that is a problem that we are trying to tackle and bring business on board as well with it.
So that's interesting. So you're saying that this sort of varying in expectation is often leading, and role, what expectation of role. I'm the business, I know what I want, but maybe they don't know what they don't know, and you do know a little bit. And I think what you were saying there is, correct me if I'm wrong, is you're seeing situations where the business is thinking of AI as this sort of, Oracle chatbot, but they're missing the point. It could be so much more than that. Is that right? And that sometimes there's got to be that sort of give and take in sort of expectations of both of your role. They need to be a little bit more technical. You guys need to reach into the business a bit more.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the gap, like I was saying, is what needs to be bridged, and I feel it's the responsibility of the technical team at this point in time to actually explain or demonstrate the differences and show them what and how AI needs to be brought about to the business, because we have to move them away from what they think is the best way to do it. And yeah, that's the challenge Adam especially and himself and others have been facing. To be honest.
And you guys thought prompt engineering was going to be a challenge. It's this element. So, final question before I sort of open up to sort of the how you've gone about this. But what's the impact? I mean, so what if the expectations are different? I've got this big expectation of AI. It doesn't deliver. Yeah. So what?
Well, it'll be return on investment. If you want that transformational change, that's That's the impact. That's why it matters. If you tell us that you've got this ABAP program, let's put a scenario together. Let's say you want to use the AI to understand what articles you have in the business that are underperforming. And you may already have a whole host of programs that help you generate reports to understand that. And you now want to use that in your AI solution. So you take those reports, you take those deterministic outputs, and you just put them straight into your AI. And now you start to ask questions on it. And guess what? It will not do a particularly good job because you haven't provided it the context of understanding of what went into the creation of those deterministic numbers. You've got an article, but what is an article? You have some cost figures. What is a cost? I mean, cost is made up of tax, it's margin, it's also currency. You've got stock positions, but what is a stock position? You've got inbound, especially. You need to feed all this information so that AI has an understanding of what those figures are. So when you start to ask a question, for example, why is my stock so high? It doesn't just regurgitate stock is 52 in the Glasgow store. It actually has an understanding that stock is high in Glasgow because of an inbound or a manual stock override. Something to this effect gives you a much more meaningful answer. When you have this understanding, you can then deliver an insight in your business data that can allow you to make better business decisions, which can then lead to better control of your business. And that will lead to much more significant returns on your ROI.
Got it.
So you can go from a glorified chatbot, which is what Deepika's been talking about, which won't tell you anything more than your existing ABAP programs will tell you, or you can go and provide your AI solution all that business understanding in addition to your business data, and you're now looking at 10, 20, 30 million ROI, which is something that your deterministic ABAP programs cannot deliver, and they will never deliver that. So that's the impact. That is the problem if they don't understand.
So you don't get the ROI, you don't get the delivery behind it. And I see this a lot around this sort of sidekick chatbot. It's the customers, companies, that people are disappointed. There's such a high expectation of AI, and then and then they sort of dismiss it at that point. But there's so many other things we can do with AI that have return, and then you've been doing this sort of stuff with agents. So I get it. So this cultural side of this, and this expectation in role, expectation in terms of what the AI can deliver, expectation of what you need to provide AI to be successful varies a lot. How have you, as an organization, tried to address this either culturally, data-wise, regulatory, however you want to do it? Maybe I'll start with Deepika and then we'll finish with Adam on that thought.
Right. So to answer that question, maybe Adam, should we talk about the framework that we've had to build around using the ABAP SDK and how we've brought about the business into using the AI solution in a much better way, rather than keeping the role within the dev team to say any change come to us. And I think that that's something we have done with CS successfully. And what we are looking to do with the when moving into the buying bot as well is more about how do we build these tools which are clever enough on their own. Obviously they will keep evolving. It's more about what can we do, to think ahead right now to use the tools in the best way, how to start planting a new forest, I would say, but with the with an ancient woodland by your side, and you just you want to build something that is going to grow into something extraordinary. But we are at that initial stage, and it requires a lot of nurturing and care, and help from the woodlands which are well established at the moment. And I think the way what we are trying to do is to bring about that transition and building the foundation for it, and to see how that can evolve and bring about the power of AI basically in the best way it can. Adam, I'll let you continue.
I think that's fascinating. I mean, what you're saying is that you've used technology actually as a way to try and solve the problem. I love this analogy of the woodland. But you can't just go, oh, I'm going to use technology to fix it. You're laying out, dropping your acorns in your analogy of the woodland in the right spots in a very deliberate way, so that over time this sort of grows. So that's interesting. The way you've done it is to use the technology to help you. Adam, what would you add to that?
It would be ownership would be the difference that we made. We are not creating a bot as a tool for IT. We are actually creating a bot as a tool for the business. IT will not own that bot that we create. The business own that bot. And that includes the entire functionality of the bot, all the way down to the prompting. If they want their bot to respond in German or in English, that is up to the owners, the business, to decide. If they want to put in business rules to give it the understanding of what a stock position is, or what a purchase order is, that's up to the business to create that prompt to give it that understanding. So we provide a framework that will absorb all the business knowledge, but we allow the business to own it. So they provide the business knowledge, not the IT. And that's a fundamental shift. So the examples of scenarios that have come up like this is even in IT, when we come into our peak, we're retailers, so we're in peak at the moment, we come out with code freezes. We're seeing not let go and go and change code because we're in peak. And I had to ask the business, well, the people who said this, I said, what about prompting? Because I can cause more damage to our AI bot through prompting than I can through code changing. Through a prompt, I can get it to refund all customers, just telling it to in natural language. So should we, put a code freeze on prompting as well? And it was something like, actually, yes.
Yes.
And this is all part of ownership. So the business would say, you're not allowed to change this anymore to IT. But actually, the business now have to apply rules to themselves to say, actually, we're the ones in control of the bot. This bot is ours. We're not allowed to change our own bot. Because they're the ones that control the rules. They're the ones that control how it behaves. It's not IT. So for me, it's all about ownership. Who owns what?
So you've addressed this expectation of role in the framework itself. You basically said, look, this is the piece that I have access to. This is the piece that you have access to. This is my role. This is your role. And what I think is interesting is that you have to work together, because you can affect each other quite significantly. So that's an interesting way of doing that. As always, this has been really fascinating. I want to end these sort of things with a sort of an open question. Is there something about this journey here that we didn't cover that you think is worth the audience knowing? Maybe I'll start with you, Adam, this time, and finish with Deepika.
If you're moving out into the world of applying AI to areas that haven't traditionally had it, so outside of customer services, the big message that I would say is look at processes that you've never looked at before, because it's a good opportunity. But the big thing is, don't just think that taking existing programs and existing processes and slapping AI on top will give you success, because it won't tell you anything more than what your existing programs already do.
I love that. And isn't it surprising how many people are doing that? And I'm old enough to remember when things were web enabled. I don't know whether, Adam, you remember that, but
yeah, I remember seeing
and we web enabled them, and great, it was now a web app. And many of us back then went, well, I don't think you get the point of the internet. It's not about changing the UI and putting a web page on the front. It's about so much more. So that really resonates with me. Deepika, what do you think? What are your final thoughts?
Yeah, I think I'll go one step down, Adam, and then I would actually talk about the fundamental problem, or I would say it's an interesting a thought about how we need to really understand whether or not AI is required by that group of business, by the group of people in the business, because I think even that's where the problem starts. I think it's been well addressed. This is a subject that's addressed by everyone, where before we go on to say, yes, let's go for AI, let's implement AI. I think we have to step back and think, what value addition is AI going to give there? Because when we start questioning that, I feel this subject of, let's just keep everything as it is in ABAP and keep writing programs, but then just present it differently, or let's actually build a powerful framework and system where each agent acts like an expert in sales or stock and pricing and all of that, and that becomes an ecosystem of its own, which is powerful enough to be actually handling any use case in the future. It's like proper future proofing of it when compared to traditional programs where you say, okay, let me give this to a developer, let them go and develop a program or logic to give us insight about this piece of information that we are looking about in the business. And I think stepping back to answer that question to see whether the business is happy to implement AI or not, because it's absolutely fine if no one's on board with the idea of using AI in a certain area in the business, which is fine as well. I think we have to be clear about that point. We are fine with that, but I think because we belong to that group of people who have experience with AI, with implementing AI, and because we have seen the success of it, we definitely want to put as much effort as we can to bring more people on board with the idea that actually AI can do what it is meant to be doing when we put it in the right framework, when we actually bring it into the right form and bring the people along with it, which is what we find as being a challenge, which we've been talking about throughout the call. I think when we do that, we will actually be able to get further much easily.
That's really well said. I like that's really lovely. I think it's about taking a. If I play it back to you, you're saying take a step, think a bit deeper about this. And I'd see this in what I do. If everyone's rushing towards doing a POC, someone in the business says, let's connect AI to the coffee machine, and we're all setting up API calls for the coffee machine. And you're saying, no, we're at a point now where you've really got to stop and think about, is this really AI? Or are we just creating a different UI? Is this really what AI is about? And can we bring the people along in this journey? And I think that's a wonderful message. It's, don't stop AI because you can't wait, but be more considered, more mindful in the approach. Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you summed it up well. Yes.
Thank you. Well, look, this has been absolutely fascinating, and I hope we've still got a few people listening in on this. You guys are leading the charge here. I always say that in the book of AI, you're probably a few paragraphs or chapters ahead of many of us, and so I appreciate you sharing, what you're learning. And as always, it's never just the technology; it's the people and it's the culture. Maybe we'll keep a regulatory conversation for our next video. I think there's some interesting stuff with regulation coming up. But thank you both for taking the time to do this. It's sincerely appreciated.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Matt.